Hello class, this is Mr. DeVoe-Peterson. I'm looking at the Canvas shell for this class today. At the very top, you have announcements that I made this week. Let me jump into it and open it up. So I've listed the week 2 assignments. Here they are. And I noticed that some of you haven't finished the Windows 10 training and assessment. Perhaps getting started took a little get going here for new students. So I've extended the Windows 10 training and assessment into this week 2. It's open along with your Word Chapter 1 training and assessment. Now last week we did reading, and hopefully you did PowerPoints and study guides on chapters 2 and 6. This week we do a quiz on them in Canvas, so let me jump out of this and go back to this view of Canvas, and you'll see down in week 1 there was quite a bit of materials. You know, you have the chapters 2 and 6 to read. I'll go into it right now to see what you should see. You should see the Pearson Plus account. And I'm going to look at, well, you would go my textbooks, and here it is right here. We'll open it up. Hopefully you looked at it. If not, this is your chance to see it again. Let's see, continue with the app. Why am I getting this? Let me close that. Okay, here's the table of contents. We would be on chapter 1, no, not chapter 1, we're chapter 2. Hold on. I did jump ahead, didn't I? So chapter 2, understanding your computer and how data processing devices work, a little bit of input, processing, output, and storage. You actually see these 4 terms on a quiz. We talk about input and output devices in this chapter 2. Input, as you might guess, would be keyboard and mice and things like that. And you'll notice that, let me point it out when I see one, there are items that are highlighted. If you click on it, like mechanical keyboard, you'll see a keyboard with spring-loaded, a little definition for what that is, spring-loaded switches and so forth. So notice that as you're going through the ebook, that's kind of critical. And I believe chapter 6, so let me jump into that. Hopefully you looked at it. If not, this is a little bit about evaluating your system. Looking at performance that you need, very helpful. Let's look at some key terms here real quick. Moore's law, that's a test question. You know that performance doubles every 2 years or 18 months. I think that is a test question for chapter 6. Let's see, are there highlighted terms here? Here we go. Well, no, chapter 2 is chapter 2. Let me jump down here. Why would you consider buying a desktop? Why would you? How long do you plan to keep it? These are considerations. System evaluation. Here's another definition that could be important. Looking at the system subsystems, which are down here. CPU, memory, storage, and media. This is all part of looking at the components of the computer, you know, for chapter 2, understanding the parts. And then chapter 6 is assessing your hardware and assessing your needs. So they kind of go hand in hand together. So that's kind of important. But if you go up here, this is new. You know, we can search for terms, but if you go up here in the study tools, if you want to do input devices, you can search in here. This is Pearson Education AI. It's going to go through and look through all their publications, probably in addition to this book, and show you some information on input devices, some definition. AI is all the rage now, artificial intelligence. Well, Pearson Education, probably as well as other publishers, are incorporating it into their systems. And it looks like it's finding a lot of information. It's taking its time to load it up. This is not as fast as I've seen in the past when it looks up information. So I might have picked something that was too broad or too wide for input devices, but it will give you some definition here. I'm going to pause a little bit as I scroll through this. I'm at input devices, system evaluations. These are different types of computing devices. You might look at what your needs are. Maybe you need to be mobile, so desktop doesn't make sense for you. Down here, you need something that's portable. Not all the applications on a tablet have all the capabilities of the programs on a laptop. You see articles where people have gone through and try to see if they can live with a an iPad instead of a laptop, and they realize that not all the features are there in the apps. Okay, so it came through. So this is input devices. There's definition. There's type of keyboards. There's touch screens. These are all different input devices. You'll get a lot of description up here, and then you'll get other information here for you to look at sources. So it is kind of helpful. So this is, they call the AI study tool for Pearson. So I'm in the ebook. I'm looking at chapters 2 and chapter 6 so you can see it. Let me jump out of that and let me back up here and get back to module 1. So I jumped in here, look at chapter 2. It's the same link for chapter 6. You'll just go to the table of contents and pick the chapter you want to go into. So hopefully you did that for week 1. If not, do it now for week 2. And also there were PowerPoints, chapter study guides, an extra credit assignment, and a discussion post here, student voices, where you can share with me what you learned, what you liked about the week's assignment, or what you may have had questions on. We're now in week 2. And like I said, some of you didn't complete the Windows 10 training and assessment, so I extended it into this week. Let's do this week. Well, now we're going to go in Microsoft Word, training and assessment. That's due this Saturday at 9. And you have quizzes on chapters 2 and 6 that hopefully you read last week, but if not, get caught up and read it now before you take the quizzes. Let's go and jump into my IT Lab. Now, I'm logged into my IT Lab. If it's going to ask you to log in if you're not, I already have a link here. And so, and all you'll have here is by weeks, the My IT Lab trainings and assessments and hands-on tests, basically, for the applications. The week 1 still has Windows 10 training and assessment. You know, the big difference is training has learning aids, right, where you can see how to complete a task. And let me jump into it, since some of you maybe had not done it, so this is your chance to look at it. Here are some things you're going to learn in the training. I'm going to go ahead and launch it right now. And it's outside my window, so let me make it smaller. Let me resize this for my recording screen. You're gonna want to maximize this on your computer. I'm recording just my screen, not my whole, that's open, not my whole monitor. So I need to reduce the size of this a little bit. Let me fill the space a little bit more. Okay, so the first, now I'm in the lab for my IT Lab for learning Windows 10. This is the training, and what's kind of cool here is if I don't know how to, I need to extend this all the way so I can see all the features. Okay, I'm gonna extend it all the way, and I can't change my screen. Hold on, let me undo that. Down here, if I can do this, I'm gonna bounce it all the way. Down here, right below Save, my screen's not catching it, is something called Learning Aids. And basically, if I don't know how to do this task, and I'm in a training, I can click on Learning Aids right below the Save button, and it'll walk me through how to do the task, right? Which is kind of cool. I'm not gonna do it right now, but that's the training. The difference between the training and assessment is, you know, the Windows 10 training said log into my IT Lab, or Windows 10 rather, and this is the password. In the assessment, you'll be given a similar task, but the password will be different. That's all. And in the assessment, you don't have learning aids. So when you're doing the training, kind of pay attention to the and use the learning aids when you need it, but pay attention to how to complete the task. So when you get to the assessment for Windows 10, if you get stuck, you can save your progress and go back to the training, and then use the learning aid to learn how to complete the task. Get out of the training, because you'll get a grade, but I don't record the training grades. Go into the assessment and continue where you left off to finish the Windows 10 assessment. That is the strategy I would take to get through that. All right, does that make sense? Hopefully, if you could say yes, or your heads are nodding yes, it did work. So in Canvas, this is just saying the 2 links here for week 2, that the quizzes are in Canvas. You don't click on these quizzes, you actually go back to Canvas to take them. This is the Windows Chapter 1 training and assessment for this week, for week 1, right? So I've kind of run through everything. Let me go back to the screen I need to be at. Let me back up here. I want to get to week 2 in Canvas. This is kind of the portal to show you what we're doing for the week. You would have seen a message from me here. I think I just opened it up a little bit ago about what's due. And I actually did an announcement. Well, it's at the very top. I did an announcement, and this is very similar to what you see here, right? And lastly, we have free tutorial services here at Fresno City College. Please take advantage of it. You could go to the library. Let me jump into it. And it's in library LA 141 on the bottom floor. If you go into the doors at the library, you can ask for help. There's a desk there, and they'll direct you to 141, which I think you veer a little bit to the right and you get there. But guess what? So this is Windows 12. Monday, Tuesday, oh, not Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 10 to 2, then 11 to 2, 1 to 5, different hours, but also online. Here's the link online. If you have a camera on your computer and a mic, then you could actually talk to a tutor from your computer at home and get online help. So I think that's it. Let me go back to the home page. I mentioned there's an announcement up here. You would have probably received it from Canvas messaging. Same thing. Here's what's due this week for week 2. When is it due? Saturday at 9 o'clock. All right. So I think that's it. If you have questions, make sure you email me or join my virtual office hour Monday morning and Friday morning. And good luck, and I'll see you.